What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another F125 My Team Career Mode video. Today, round 2. We're in Shanghai and it's a sprint weekend, which means one thing and one thing only. We're going to have one run from sprint quali and one run from the main qualifying in between sort of each race. So first up is going to be the sprint qualifying session. Now you'll notice I've completely removed any indication of which qualifying session this is. If you can guess in the comments, please do let me know. And if you haven't seen round 1, go back and check that video out first so you can see the chaos that unraveled in last round's qualifying. So far, so squirrely, I want to say. The car, you know, we're a midfield car, but the kind of oversteer moments, the instability that we have in some parts is just a little bit scary, especially around Shanghai, where you have a lot of, you know, high-speed corners like this one. As you can see, the back end stepping out slightly. The best indication of how, I guess, low grip this car is at the moment with the setup is watch the steering wheel. If you can see it underneath the sort of hood, watch that. You'll see it all through qualifying, all through the race, the amount of minor corrections we have to make through corners as we're trying to put the power down. Here's not too bad, actually. But I enjoy Shanghai, but I hated driving it in this car. And we've got a McLaren of Oscar Piastri breathing down our neck down the straight. I'm pretty much driving with my eyes in the back of my head. So we're trying to qualify and put a decent time in here for one of the qualifying sessions. I'm not going to say which. Again, if you can guess, that'd be incredible. So do leave that down in the comments. But there it is, a 1:35.0, which could have been good enough for something. And we're about to find out where we did end up on the grid. For the sprint race, Max Verstappen lines up on pole position, and we're there in P2 of all places. Because what a lap it must have been. Potentially holding up Oscar Piastri a little bit as well in the final sector. Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc on the second row of the grid, followed by Antonelli, Piastri, who again we were holding up, Bortoleto, Stroll, Alonso, Doohan for the top 10, then Albon, Gasly, Russell, Sainz, Dennis Hauger, our teammate in 15th, then Hulkenberg, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Oliver Behrman, Esteban Ocon, Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar. And I can just say right now how mixed up this grid has been in the first 2 rounds for the qualifying, and it seems to be carrying on to the sprint.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Wise words, Mark. Thank you very much. But yeah, obviously sprint, so no pit stops really. Just going to go for the faster tyre. No reason not to. And yeah, just take a little bit of fuel out potentially as well. But it's a pretty simple strategy here for us. There's really not a lot to kind of, I don't know, go over. It's a sprint. You sprint to the end. But a very good performance from us and even Bortoleto, which is very surprising. But all the lights are on. Now they're out as we go racing for the sprint in Shanghai. Is the little tooltip on the left-hand side is blocking our view of Verstappen, who does get a much better phase 2 from us. But we've got the inside line into turn 1. Verstappen trying to hold it around the outside, but he is on the medium, so we're going to have much better mechanical grip as we run through this very long sort of first turn. That's, I don't know, it could be like 3 turns in one, really, to be honest with you. But a very good start for us, and now trying to give Verstappen a little bit of the slipstream down the short straight here towards turn 3 and the sort of higher speed twisty section of the track in sector 2. But Norris has jumped the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, which is not great news for us because Norris is also on the softs. I was trying to help Verstappen out just because he's on the mediums, and although he might have come back at us at the end of the race, you know, we would have had the advantage on the start. As you can see, Norris is all over us as we start to head towards the detection point, which is somewhere around here where that white line is on the track. And again, just look at the steering, look at the inputs. I'm being so gentle as I can be to try and maximize the traction, but not you know, lose the grip suddenly and spin the car, because it is just unreal how little grip we have in some of these corners. And you can also tell like how much downforce, how much wing we have on the car from the pace that we have in sort of sector 1 and some parts of sector 2. As you'll probably see as we run up towards turn 1, but we've skipped ahead to lap 3 as we're sort of following along in Lando Norris's kind of slipstream there, and you can see a bit of an oversteer moment creeping into the car as we start to lose a bit of grip from these softs, as Piastri is now all over the back of us, and it looks like we're going to be potentially going backwards in this race, which is not ideal. We're dumping all of our battery to try and stay with Norris, but Oscar Piastri to the outside, just going to break around the 125 meter board there. Piastri to the outside, we're going to try and give him some room on exit, but he does back out of it eventually. And yeah, we're trying our hardest, but with the wing level that we have, we're slow in a straight, quick in the corners, as we have a bit of oversteer, sort of under trail braking there, which is a little bit scary. And while we move on to lap 6, you can see how much of a moment we have in the final corner. I think it's just the trail braking and the brake bias that we have, which is really kind of making us power slide through the corner. And by the way, yes, that is the thumbnail. But we're on the final lap now. Verstappen on his mediums is going to have pace over us at this point, surely. We've got no battery, although I might be switching that down to none, just so I can recharge as much as possible to prepare for the last ditch effort to the line along, yeah, the really, really long back straight towards the end of the lap, which I'm not looking forward to having multiple cars sort of back to back to back, all having DRS and me not having any. So potentially I might let Verstappen go, and even then our tyres are giving up on us as we're rounding parts of sector 2 here and entering towards sector 3. And you can just see the little micro corrections we have on the steering wheel here. Gonna let Verstappen go maybe here, brake a little bit early, try and give ourselves the DRS, but then potentially cut back, give him a bit of an awkward exit. Not quite, he's still got the exit on us. You can just see, look at the pace of Piastri to just swoop underneath and get the inside. We're trying to steal the slipstream from the Red Bull in front, as Oscar Piastri's got the DRS as well as us. Looks like Piastri's going to go down the inside of Verstappen. Verstappen's covering it off. We go to the outside, potentially hold it around the outside. A little bit of oversteer, banging into the wheels of the Red Bull. But just under traction, we get the momentum on the sort of the racing line, and we take P2 in the sprint.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
I'm very happy with the podium as well, with P2. Holy, I was not sure we were going to hold on to that at all. But there's no time for a break, because we're on to qualifying for the main Grand Prix event. You can see, I'm trying to see if the old esports line from F124 is still a thing, and it seems like it is. But into turn 1 we go. We've got a lot more experience now in practice around Shanghai with this setup in this car, and I think we've been kind of doing a bit better, even controlling some of the twitchy nature of this car, as it's a little bit unstable but quick. And yeah, you might see that we're a little bit more on the limit around here in these laps, and just kind of knowing how we can put the power down to maximize the traction without overstepping the grip and kind of punishing ourselves for being a little bit too aggressive. But even so, Albon a 1:36.7, which is actually quite slow. If you think about our qualifying lap from sprint quali that we saw was a 1:35.0. So we'll see how we go. That's a little bit more respectable left from Russell, a 1:35.5. We now round one of the final corners. Fernando Alonso, 1:35.1, which Alonso was about 10th in the sprint quali. Max Verstappen, a 1:34.1 to take the pole at the moment. But as we run down towards the penultimate corner here, again braking a little bit later than we did in the sprint, and somehow still managing to turn in a bit too early and get the car stopped, which is a bit kind of an evolution, let's say, of our kind of comfortability, that's a word, around this track. and it's a 1:34.6. So we did manage to improve in that lap anyway, compared to our sprint qualifying lap that we saw a few minutes ago. But for the starting grid, Verstappen again getting that pole with the lap that we saw him complete actually, and Lando Norris taking the fight to Red Bull as well to take P2 on the grid. Then comes Hamilton and ourselves in P4, Oscar Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda up there in 6th, Fernando Alonso in 7th, George Russell, Alex Albon, Isaac Hadjar, Lance Stroll, Jack Doohan, Charles Leclerc with a penalty down in P13, then Ollie Behrman, Kimi Antonelli, Liam Lawson, Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon in P18, Nico Hulkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Bortoleto, who finally woke up from his dream, and Dennis Hauger, who seems to have had an absolute howler of a qualifying session for the main Grand Prix.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Do you ever get this feeling of deja vu? I feel like that was the same thing that he said in the sprint, but we'll leave it with him. He's probably got a lot on his mind. But as I mentioned before, or may not have mentioned, but in the thumbnail I mentioned it, rain is here for the main Grand Prix. So we're all on inters. It doesn't look like it's raining right now, but it doesn't matter because all the lights are on. Now they're out as we go racing. Hamilton looked as if he jumped the start, but that reaction time must be on the money for the Ferrari drivers. In the second phase, we seem to breeze past him, but now looking to the outside of Lando Norris, can we sneak a wheel and a wing around the outside? Not quite. That McLaren's just got a little bit too much grip in that corner, it seems, as we have a bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 2, and now trying to put the power down to get away from Hamilton and Tsunoda. Someone's had a bit of an off. It must have been Yuki Tsunoda, actually, who's gone off the racing track and has emerged again, it looks like, from the minimap. Yeah, he's moving now. As we actually had a bit of a moment there, and cheeky check behind in the mirrors just to check that Hamilton wasn't going to just send it down the inside there of that fast left-hander. But we had a bit of a moment under traction because it doesn't look like it's raining, but the grip levels are just not there at all. I'm not sure if it's just a graphical thing where it's not quite raining on my screen, but I'm sure it rains at some point. I'm sure I remember seeing it rain, but you can see we're locking up into corners even though we're braking early, and the grip is just really not there at all. So I don't know if it's just, if the track's really green again because it rained before the Grand Prix, and that's why we're kind of struggling and starting on inters. But look at Max Verstappen with a 3-second lead already by the end of lap 1. Lewis Hamilton looking to the outside. We're going to give him a bit of a squeeze towards the curbing and the brake marker boards, and brake a little bit later than the Ferrari, it has to be said, and potentially got that one covered off, which is a good first test, because there's not going to be DRS, I don't think, when the conditions are intermediate, let's say. But yeah, we're 4 seconds a lap slower, or 5 seconds a lap slower than Verstappen's pole position time, which is to be expected. We've got a lot of fuel on board, but still, the grip is obviously not there for everybody, and it does look like it's raining. Am I going crazy? I mean, maybe I am, but we have a bit of a moment again as we're trying to put the traction down, and you can just see how the instability in the car and some of this greasy, rainy, I mean, yeah, this is illustrating everything I'm trying to say perfectly. The tyres, are they overheating maybe? No, they're not overheating, although they are a little bit through the high speed on the rears, but yeah, it's just the instability of the car mixed with some of these conditions is not turning out to be a fun way to drive. I mean, actually, it's pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. When I was racing this, I loved every second of just minor corrections, left, right, center, all of that stuff. Just trying to get the car in a straight line and maximize what we could. It was very entertaining for me. But in terms of, I don't know, performance in a race, it's not the best. It's not what you want, really. And look at that. Somehow just catching that out of the long right-hander before the DRS zone. I'm not even sure if DRS is active. No, it's not from the look of it, but look at Piastri. Just straight around the outside. We're going to send it down the inside, though, of the Australian and see if we can hold on to this position. We don't want any faster cars getting away because every car that gets ahead of us and gets in front is going to hold on to the position and get away from us. We're going to go for a cheeky switchback. Not quite. We go a little bit deep and actually make contact with the rear of the McLaren. And yeah, just to make things a little bit worse, we're low on fuel. So if you've been around and watching the channel since the F124 days, you'll remember in one of the races that we were doing in that My Team series was, yeah, a very frustrating race for fuel and lift and coast. But if you know, you know. Right now, though, we're going to struggle massively because we're already slow in a straight. If we have to lift and coast as well, or try not to make the most of the traction zones, we're going to really struggle. And look at that! Look at the McLaren go, but we're going to resend it down Oscar Piastri on the inside and really, yeah, just force him out of the move there. That was extremely aggressive, and to be honest, I think we can afford to do that. McLaren are going to be fighting for the constructors for sure. We potentially might, but that's a big potential and might there, because if the car's performing like this, where Verstappen is 11 seconds ahead of us in 4 laps, we're not going to be fighting for the constructors, especially when our teammate is P22. But DRS has been enabled, and that's really bad news for us because we've got Oscar Piastri, George Russell, and Lewis Hamilton all waiting to make their move, and there goes the McLaren and the Mercedes duo just ahead of us, as now down the inside comes Hamilton, potentially trying to rob us of that position. But I think at this point, with DRS being enabled, we're going to dive it into the pit lane, and it looks like we're the only ones to do so. But there's yellow flags out actually for some incident in the second to last turn, as Esteban Ocon is out of the session and the safety car has been deployed almost to help us with our pit stop, but also not quite, because everyone's going to get a pit stop anyway, so it's the same. But we're going to go on to mediums. We're on lap 5 of 20. I don't know if mediums can go all the way, but we need some decent grip. I don't want to go into the hards and not be able to heat them up, because I'm already not able to heat up the mediums, as you can see in the bottom right. But yeah, if we went on hards, we just wouldn't be able to heat them up. And yeah, there might not be much degradation, but there's also less grip. And in these kind of conditions, I wanted that bit extra grip, just to make sure that we can, yeah, actually drive somewhat competitively around this circuit. So P4, big gaggle of cars behind us, just waiting to pounce. But 5 minutes till rain. That radio message from Mark. 5 minutes until the rain. So we potentially could have even gone softs, to be honest with you. But hindsight is 2020. Safety car is just about to peel into the pit lane now, and we're going to start to get racing as I'm breaking some rules of engagement for the safety car and not being side by side with a car in front or behind. But here we go then. Green flag racing now for sure. But Russell seems to have gotten a really slow getaway as we absolutely Charles Leclerc him. If you remember from Spain, what Charles Leclerc did when Verstappen made that immense save on the restart on his hard tyres. We did that to Russell just now, but with less contact. So that's how it's done. But there we go. So we jumped one car already. Now it's Lando Norris next. And you can see in the dry conditions on the dry tyres, we have pace. We do have pace because we have the grip. The car might still be a little bit unstable in some circumstances, but we do have a lot of grip in this car to make some good pace as we again have another moment under traction. I think when there's a lot of load in the car and we're trying to work the tyres a bit too much, that's when we lose some grip and some momentum and in most cases the position. So we're going to see if we can stop that from happening. So again, we're always learning. But here comes Lando Norris. Look at the speed. You can see even before they had DRS open, he was already past me. There's nothing we can do. His yellow flag's out yet again for something happening further down the field as Norris is very slow off the corner. I think I actually made contact with him with the front wing. His rear diffuser, I'm not really sure there, but he was just so slow on exit. I'm not sure if he was just slow for the yellow flags or not. I'm not sure, but either way, turn 1, down the inside, almost contact. Now George Russell's looking to the inside as well. We're going for a bit of a power slide towards the apex of the second corner, but we're somehow holding on to this. I don't know how. There's some magic going on here as Russell was looking rapid now. On the restart, he looked really slow. And so did Norris out of the penultimate corner. But, yeah, it's very strange. Maybe it's just some corners that they're more confident in their traction. I don't know. But here they come again. Back straight is always going to be a detriment to high downforce setups. And we're dumping all of the battery to try and hold these cars behind. But Lando Norris to the outside. We're going to hold the inside and almost spin it, banging wheels a little bit as we were out of control for a moment. And under traction, really struggling as well. Lando Norris to the inside again. Can we get a bit of a switch back on the McLaren? Yes, we can. And I absolutely love that move in the cockpit as we were going. And it looks like rain is arriving. So again, not sure if we're going to see some more kind of slow lap times. Teammate is in the pits. And maybe it's just because I didn't want to get stuck behind a bunch of drivers on tyres that I know wouldn't work for me. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just from the team's communication to come and pit next lap, or this lap rather, instead of the lap that our teammate came into the pits. I don't know. But it does seem like the rain is coming. The tyres are getting colder, especially the front right. And yeah, again, there's not much we can do down this straight. We've just got to stop Norris from getting past as best we can. But there he goes, flying past with DRS. We're going to have to stick behind for now and see if we can jump him in the pits, but probably not. Although we can potentially beat him under traction to the pit lane line as now DRS has been disabled. We have once again nailed this pit stop in terms of when DRS is enabled or disabled, whichever way round. Whenever there's a safety car, we have absolutely smashed our pit window and making sure it's nice and tidy on the entry. So there's a few cars out with dry tyres that are now coming in. Russell's on the intermediates and he seems to be the first car on the intermediates. He's coming past now. Followed quickly by Verstappen, who's just gone past us there. And then there is Oscar Piastri, our other final boss, other than every other car around us at the minute. As you can just see how quickly the grip has actually fallen away, just with a slight bit of rain. I don't know if it's to do with the particle graphics that mean that we don't see as much rain, but I don't know. It just seems to be that in F1 25, when it rains slightly, there's a lot less grip, which I guess is also like more realistic, I guess. Like as soon as there is any bit of water on track, you do lose all the grip in the world, right? Like that's why they go to intermediate. So it's quite nice that we kind of get forced to intermediates, but I also kind of wish there was a bit of a bigger window in which you could be on inters or slicks and it would be kind of working, because I feel like that doesn't really exist. But maybe that's just my lack of experience in F1 25. And now Hamilton seems to be looking to take an advantage. We can't get a switch back on the Ferrari, so that's an interesting thing to think about. We did the exact same thing on Norris and it worked earlier. Don't know if it's maybe just the intermediate tyres or the grip that we have in the wet. Maybe. Something to think about. We'll maybe see more of that later in the season, but I'm not really sure as we look to the inside, but make that the outside. So we did a big dummy on Lewis Hamilton, but I just don't think there's any space really for us to make a move, but we do show the wing, throw the car in, and make it stick seemingly for now, as we're again struggling under traction, working that wheel like our life depends on it. But even then, there's just nothing stopping them down the straight. There's absolutely nothing stopping them. And we're dropping like a stone in this Grand Prix. there might be something we can do in the next 6 laps as we go to the outside under brakes of the 7-time world champion. And can we do the same thing again where we just keep the momentum going around the outside and claim this next corner? We're going to try and give him some space as well, which we have done, but he didn't take it. He did back out of it in the end. But there's nothing much we can do. Just look at the speed they have. I definitely need to lower the wings for the next time we do a race around Shanghai, because, yeah, it's quick, but in a straight you're just losing race pace. And I think that's something that we have with the car. We're very quick in qualifying, but in the race the car struggles. When we have a lot of weight on the car, like fuel load and tyre wear, the car struggles more and more over a race distance. But over 1 lap pace, like, we can nail a lap and really get it. But when we have to battle people and defend for our life, the cars ahead are getting away, and we're like losing all the traction. That was a huge save we just pulled off there. Again, trying to keep the car on track and just keep it in a straight line. It's more challenging than you'd think sometimes, especially when you've got on a bit of an unstable setup. It's like unstable but quick, you know, which is kind of good, but also makes, again, race pace a bit hard. So we're going to keep going to the end, obviously. We're in P5 now. The car's ahead of 13 seconds up the road, so I don't think there's going to be anything we can do about those. It's just how much can we hold off the cars behind, as Isaac Hadjar has gotten ahead of Hamilton. Crucially, if you look in the top left, they were, I'm not sure if they were side by side in the last corner, but Hadjar is now holding up Hamilton, which is perfect. Perfect for us, as we can decide to drift as much as we want. I don't know. It's not a choice. It's a lifestyle. But no, it's just, we have to make the most of Hadjar in the slower Visa Cash App RB car thing team. I'm just going to call them RB. I think everyone wants to do that, but I'm going to call them RB. The name's too long for me. Yeah, because he's a slower car than us, he's holding up Hamilton for us and giving us a breathing gap. We've got 2 laps to go, and now a 2-second buffer to Hadjar behind, which is bliss. There's no DRS as well, so Hadjar might be more competitive in a straight compared to us. As you can see how much we're struggling for any grip at all. I mean, our best lap time in the race has been 1:38.6. If that kind of shows you the struggle of race pace versus qualifying. I think, what was it, 1:34.6 we got in the end for qualifying. As Max Verstappen crosses the line to take home the win, Isaac Hadjar has successfully held off the 7-time world champion for us. And yeah, McLaren in P3 and P4, George Russell coming home for P2, and ourselves coming home in P5. For what I would say is a pretty decent race result. I wasn't expecting a P5. I was expecting to be lower, especially when we had some of those instability moments in the car. From qualifying, not great, because we got P2, but still good.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
They led from lights out to the flag at the end, and their race victory was never in doubt, was it? Brilliant stuff by them.
Yeah, I mean, again, put Verstappen in a Red Bull. There's no catching him sometimes. It's just one of the universal constants.
Only 3 can take to the podium, and here they come. But there can only be one on the top step. Your number 1, Max Verstappen.
Yeah, no, great race. Verstappen, yeah, there was no stopping him from qualifying to the race. Yeah, unbeatable in these conditions and around this track with that car. Russell did very well to get up to P2, and Norris did pretty good as well. We were holding him up quite a bit, along with Russell actually, but I think, yeah, just tricky strategy at the end as well.
After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Excitement indeed. Max Verstappen taking the fastest lap as well, and George Russell, Norris, and then Piastri, ourselves in P5, then Isaac Hadjar, Hamilton, Alonso, Tsunoda, Behrman, Albon, Antonelli, Hulkenberg, Sainz, Hauger, Leclerc, Stroll, Lawson, Doohan, Bortoletto, Gasly, and Ocon, who DNF'd in one of the final corners on the circuit, which is what threw the yellow flags briefly earlier in the race. But yeah, in the drivers, 10 points only between us and Piastri. Verstappen looking promising as well up there in P2 in the standings. We're dropping in the constructors though, down towards P4. McLaren's doing very well in the game as in real life as well. But yeah, tricky race. The strategy was, we had a good strategy. We pitted at the right time onto the right tyres, and I think we did well. The car was just quite unstable, and I think when you have those tricky conditions as well, it just really makes it a big challenge to extract performance. I mean, if you think about all the times we lost traction, like how much time that would have been in race time. Look how wide we went. But yeah, it would have been a lot of time in race time for all of the time that we kind of lost in those times that we broke traction. But yeah, happy. Nice and chaotic. I like, there's the Tsunoda going off in lap 1, I think it was. But yeah, I'm happy with the performance. I like the setups that we have and the way that F125 feels to drive. It's a very fun game, and I love the chaos that is happening so far with like Bortoletto being in the top 10 after qualifying is immense. I love that. I really want F125 to give me more of this. And if you want to see more, you know what to do. It's flashed upon it a few times on the screen to remind you to subscribe and hit the bell. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, and yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of the career mode so far, which one you're playing, which one's your favourite, how you're finding the new driving, and if you're on wheel or pad. You know, I'm intrigued to know how it is to play on the controller instead of the wheel and pedals. I've only played on these games with a wheel and pedals for a couple of years now, and I've not played pad since I switched over, so I don't know what it's like at all. So it'll be interesting to hear from you guys what you all think of the new game. But that's it for this time, and we'll see you again in a few days for round 3.